That this is after a meeting that took place of the NWC that it was decided that NWC deployees will be coming to the province, including the top 6, to come and meet with the various structures of the party, including the 4 regions here in the province, and speak to them about some of the issues that have been raised. But some have been arguing that at the center of the current political tussle that's taking place here in the northwest is a proposal that the PEC of this province be disbanded, and this has been an ongoing call, particularly after that decision as well of Supra Mahumapelo to step down as the premier of this province. And those debates are issues that are still continuing. Yesterday there were several meetings that took place being chaired by the various members of the ANC's top 6, and in one of those meetings where you had the Treasurer General Paul Mashatile, insults being hurled at ANC NEC members, the meeting being disrupted as well, and vulgar words being thrown left, right and centre, and Paul Mashatile also responding in one of the clips that has been doing the rounds on social media, saying that these are not ANC members, they do not belong to the ANC. While at another meeting where you had the president of the ANC, Cyril Ramaphosa, speaking at the Bujanala region and saying that he was quite impressed with the behavior of those members of the ANC in that region, because it was a rather peaceful meeting, although during that meeting there were people singing songs and calling on Supra Mahumapelo to step down. And heard the good news, Supra Mahumapelo is going, and of course we know that he remains the chairperson of the ANC in this province. And today there is now a meeting that will be taking place between the PEC as well as the NWC to give some sort of report back what they found from the different regions. And right now I'm going to ask Zizi, who is in the presidency of the ANC at Luthuli House, to speak to us more about the purpose of this meeting after all those meetings that took place yesterday as well. Zizi, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Just bring us into your confidence about this meeting taking place here today.
The ANC is a unitary organization. Provinces, they exist as coordinating structures, and therefore a unitary organization. The NEC is the highest decision-making body between conferences. When there are problems in a province, we've got a constitutional responsibility arising from a conference with 2 mandates in terms of renewal and building unity of the organization. We've experienced a number of problems in the province, and there's a number of delegations that have been coming here. The challenge of unity in particular. As you know, that we are now preparing for 2019 elections, and therefore we need our structures to be solid on the ground. So we decided that the National Working Committee, which is the working committee of the NEC, must come and actually see for itself the state of the organization. We are here to get the state of the organization and what help needs to be done to help the African National Congress to be strong, to be united in the province. That's why when we had all the 4 meetings yesterday, we are talking about very successful meetings with all the varying challenges. But here the National Working Committee will now report about those meetings in the presence of the PEC, and in the absence of the PEC, the National Working Committee will make a recommendation to the NEC about what help this province needs to go forward.
And before we get to that, let's quickly speak about the nature of those meetings that took place yesterday. Quite disruptive, especially the Dr. Ruth Mpati meeting where you had, the region rather, where you had Paul Mashatile being there, and the language that was being used and how disruptive that meeting was. Is the ANC pursuing any disciplinary action against these members?
We have not had reports from regions, but I can say where I was with the president, there were elements, because what defines the ANC member is not membership, is a conduct that makes you different from the rest of other people. There are very new tendencies that we're beginning to see, and that's why the conference mandated us that we must renew ourselves. Part of renewing ourselves is to do things differently, because over a period of 10 years, ill discipline has almost set in the organization, and we need to deal with that politically, and the only way to deal with that is through political education. And I think perhaps after this report, we should be able to say, these are the things that we've gathered, these are the things that are not helping the ANC, and therefore let's isolate them and deal with them as part of building organizational renewal and unity in the province.
Quite strangely, Zizi, driving into this area here in Hartis, you see a lot of police officers and public order police officers. I saw there was a water cannon outside this venue as well. What necessitated this?
We don't plan security. We plan a meeting. As to what brought them here in terms of numbers, yesterday even in meetings where we had, but there will be nothing wrong if you have a President of the Republic being present here and you'll see a number of police. There's nothing new about it.
But not public order police, like we're having water cannons. Are you guys expecting any disruptions? Are you expecting members of the ANC who may be disgruntled to come and protest outside this venue?
There can't be people who are disgruntled against the PEC and against the NEC. These are the highest decision-making structures both in the province and the NEC. And therefore, for anybody to come here, it will be exercise of futility. But like I say, we don't plan security.
And let's speak about this meeting taking place here today. Will one of the issues be, can you confirm that one of the issues will be about whether or not to disband this province and its executive?
No, it can't be the issue for this meeting. This meeting must get reports. On the basis of that report, the NWC on its own must then say, based on these reports and the evidence that we have now about the state of the organization, what remedial action, what help do we need to do politically, and the decision we need to take to help the organization to be strengthened, to stabilize. We have seen some of these incidences in the past, including yesterday. How do we make sure that we build? Northwest is very important in the ANC in terms of national elections and its contribution to the national percentage. We can't allow it again to drop. 2016, we suffered a setback of 20% in Northwest. That we cannot allow because of our own intra-differences.
Is this also then an opportunity for the PEC to make some sort of representation and probably rebuttal some of the accusations leveled against them?
No doubt. We'll allow NWC members who went to all these 4 regions to make a presentation to this meeting. Also the PEC, in terms of its understanding of the state of the organization, it will be allowed to make a presentation in this meeting.
Why would it be so important to renew this province?
It's important to renew all the structures of the organization because both the diagnostic report presented by the Secretary General and then Kwete Mantashe that spoke about ills in the organization, the things that are almost eroding the revolutionary values of the African National Congress. That report was taken further to the National Conference in December. The conference resolved that we must renew ourselves. The notion and the resolution of renewal comes, among others, from the diagnostic report that there's something that we need to do in order to renew. We must renew the way we do things. We must change the way we do things because largely members of the ANC in some instances are no longer loyal to the organization as they took oath of membership. They are loyal to individuals. That is where you've seen members who are prepared to die for a member, not prepared to die for the organization. We want to change that.
And when the NWC and the NEC, I guess, finally makes their deliberations and final decisions on what decision should be taken here, or what measures should be implemented here in this particular province, will they also be taking into consideration that you have list conferences coming up and whether or not this province will be able to have stable list conferences? Absolutely.
Nothing of this meeting must disrupt the program of the organization going forward. As we speak, this is not the only meeting that is sitting in terms of the ANC in the country. The number of other meetings resolving problems where there are challenges, but the resolution of those challenges must not disrupt the program of the African National Congress. The list processes must come as a normal agreed in terms of the election program. We'll have a program for manifesto, we'll have a program to launch the manifesto of the ANC, we'll have January 8th. Those things can't be disrupted because Northwest the NWC is resolving problems in Northwest.
Let's just quickly speak about another developing story. Today, the State Capture Commission of Inquiry has started its day 1. Just quickly from the ANC side, what exactly is it that you are expecting?
We fully support the work of the Commission. We are the first to call for the Commission's establishment because the allegations that were made were quite serious, because they undermined the faith that people bestowed on the leadership of the African National Congress. Allegations that certain decisions are no longer taken by the elected executive of the country. Those allegations are quite serious. Looting and thieving is stealing from the poor, and therefore it undermines the ability and agenda to advance our social transformation. We want the Commission to get to the bottom of these allegations, and therefore we make a call even to members and leaders of the ANC. We have made a statement loudly in public to be courageous and to be bold enough to present any evidence they have to the Commission, because they are not doing so only for themselves, they are doing for the country and for the integrity and for the credibility of the African National Congress.
Zizi, I'm going to try and push this one. I know that you work in the office of the President at Luthuli House, but there's a concern that was raised by the Deputy Chief Justice Zondo, and this is in terms of the clearance for the investigators who are dealing with these issues of state capture to try and help the evidence leaders in this. Have you had any discussion whatsoever with the President with regards to this?
The President does not deal with issues of clearance. That's why there are issues of state, and there are a number of agencies that deal with those issues. Our objective and our desire is to see the Commission beginning its work earnestly. And if there are any delays, it will be unfortunately, but it must do its own, what it has to do, so that there is no person whose then his credibility is then doubted being part of the work of the Commission. In the Office of the President at Lutuli House, we don't deal with those issues. Those are issues that are dealt with by agencies of state. And I think at an appropriate time, agencies of state will respond to those issues if there are any issues about them.
But you'd like to see them cooperate?
We want to see all of state agencies cooperating, including the NPA, to follow up all lead and evidence, because our view is that corruption is the enemy of the revolution, is the enemy of the people.
Zizi, thank you so much for your time. There you have it from Zizi, ANC NEC member, and he'll be part of this meeting that will be taking place here right now between the NWC after they had those 4 meetings across the province here in the Northwest, and give their report back to the PEC, and in terms of some calls being made as well that the PEC of this province must be disbanded, especially in light of the province going to its list conferences, that they don't want this PEC to be overseeing the process leading up to deciding who should be serving the party at various provincial structures as well as the national structures of government.